We are alive.
No, I just said live. Okay, Ariane,
I thought I heard alive.
go.
We are ready to go to operating for parks.
Sure. Question on Kubota. 01750777060. Last year we spent 5,100. Budget was 12. This year we're going up to 13,500. But is that not a new sheet?
Not in this order.
No, none of them.
I asked for a new one last year and it got canceled.
Correct.
Yeah, running.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Makes sense.
They're all of age. That was the request to be able to replace that.
So this is just for elderly maintenance.
That's correct.
Can we stick with? I don't know, I know everything's gone up, but we're looking for dollars where we can get them, can we reduce that to? Last year's budget,
It's completely.
we don't know, right?
Well, it just becomes down to critical failure in terms of the decking. Any one of the pieces, if they do fail, in order for us to be able to utilize that machine, we will have to restrict the part. This was an estimation in terms of the increases in prices that were so for existing maintenance that we have seen in those particular units plus the age.
Anybody else have any input on that? Thank you. Hand, any comments? Did we go down? Or
Are you talking about the Kubota and maintenance?
Secretary, yeah.
Sorry, I just lost my place.
When you propose it, Councilor?
Yeah, what was the suggestion?
I think if we go down the last year, that's 1,500, that's better than where we were. Or do we even go down to 8?
To me, 8's a lot. 10 could work.
I'd go 10.
Just so you know. Yeah, there's talking.
You know, we're living on the edge here, but if there's money, we can find the money if we need to, but this is tax rate money. So. Anybody agree? 10?
Oh, I don't even know what account you're talking about.
7507-7060.
Yeah. 766. Yeah.
Kubota, and I never say that word. We should find another.
So. We get consensus on 10?
I'm comfortable with tenants, almost double is the actual bill.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay with 10.
706.
okay. Sure. We also okay, 10, thank you.
Can we just wait 1 second? I gotta just find that number. It's 01.
7507-7060.
Kubota and equipment repair.
Okay.
And we're lowering it by $3,500.
Just for council's information, that includes 2 large Kubota units, 2 small Walker units, as well as
Three
all the
large Kubota units.
3 large Kubota units, obviously, and then 2 small Walker units as well as and these equipment to be able to be repaired.
All the ATV.
Correct. So there's
So it's more than just the Kubota.
that's
It's
Kubota
anything
and
the
equipment.
Kubota engine.
Correct. It's a fleet of vehicles which support the entire village with regards to this. As we talked about, the reason we've asked for a replacement of those units, we have come to very near the end of life, and which we'll be doing a study in terms of the hours to make sure that we can give the proper details next year for the replacement. The replacement cost of a unit, one single unit, is about $42,000 to $45,000. When we start to look at the expenses for repair of this, a simple wheel on a deck could be $500 on one single unit, depending on what we're looking at, as well as tires. I would just caution by reducing certain lines like this repair that we could run into some catastrophic failures where one of these units could be offline and not be able to be used without that.
What's that?
The American or Canadian?
I have no idea. I know they're Japanese made in. The one
Just
they-
be cautious of anything that is made in the States. We have tariffs. They're gonna keep it in our pocket now.
So just, I would just like that information to be presented to them, so.
And I think as we clean up the accounts, as you go through the process, we should try and remove like Kubota and just put equipment repair or whatever, like,
It's a long, we have had that discussion very strongly about, and we're hoping in the next budget
Yeah.
cycle to be able to break that.
to clean it all up, yeah.
So are we still comfortable with 10 or do we need to go? We need to change that.
We can drop it to 10. I think the logic is, and Mike's has enough experience to know that if there's no money there, we're gonna find money to fix a $45,000 machine rather than just send it off to scrap, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Next one wants to line Boulevard tree planting, $2,500. Now I know there's grant money available for planting trees. From different sources and, on our trails committee, we see information come our way all the time, so I'll see if I can dig up some information and see if we can get some grant money for him to get some trees. And that would be maybe not just Boulevard, maybe for parks and everything, right? Like we can do an idea of what we might need because, you know.
This funding is a new account that we looked at putting in this year. And we've had a number of requests, even in the last year that I was here, with a list of people who have requested boulevard trees, and then through our public works department, we would go in, if there was money left over in one of the budgets, we would be able to go and start to replace trees as necessary. This individual line has pulled money out of a different account to be able to identify very specifically in the 2025, 20 people have requested trees. Each tree cost X number of dollars. And then we have a running list to be able to provide the public. If somebody is interested in having a boulevard tree, that will give us the chance to be able to see if there is money left in an existing fund this year to be able to support that, or do we put it into next year and the review as necessary. So it just gives us a little bit more granular understanding of how that works.
It also allows us to plant them in the spring rather than waiting until late fall like how we used to, which is much smarter as far as for the tree's health and just.
And just understand, it's not just planting a tree. We do have to do one call, have to do all the locates to understand what's happening. So there is a process that goes through to be able to make sure this is appropriate.
Now, just on that, one call, there's no charge. We're talking about putting a charge on that at one point.
We do that. It's straight. We pay for it.
G-Tel, we were talking like G-Tel, kind of?
Or one of the.
Or one of the-
I think they started charging homeowners, but not.
Yeah, that's been included in this one chart.
Okay, just curious, okay, and I'll look at grants, see if I'll flow it through you guys. Next item is, it says here it's a capital infrastructure across Michigan Banner Engineering. Can you enlighten us?
Certainly, there's staff was requested to look at installing some large poles, which would allow a banner to be go directly across Michigan, identifying Village of Point Edward or potential events that are happening, very similar to what you see down Front Street in front of where the celebration lights are. This is to speak to an engineering firm to identify what would be necessary, as there will be some geotechnical, we would have to drop poles in place with some piers to be able to put that up. There have to be studies in terms of wind because of some structural aspects that would be necessary to do that, as well as some locations that would be of interest. There has been some questions about that in the past, and I've started the process to do that. But if the village is interested in proceeding, we do have to have some drawings to be able to do that appropriately.
May I ask a question on that? Who initiated this project?
This was brought forward to me by other members in the office here.
Jim, do,
No, Shelley.
Shelley,
okay.
yes.
And so this is $5,000 just to see if we could do it and how we would do
It
it.
would-
And then the cost would be over and above.
That's right.
I don't see the value in it long term. I think it's, Mayor Hannah, I know, often talks about sign. And
Proliferation.
I think a big banner across there a couple times a year and the poles, I think it clutters up I think it's more of a clutter than a thing, so.
Mary Ann, did you have your hand up?
No, I was thinking like a possibility for the anniversary year, but I don't, there's already a lot of money being put forward to that, so I'm not sure if putting more. Like, I can remember in the last anniversary, there was a banner, I thought, that went across Michigan Ave when there was some activities going on at the park. So I could see something like that, but it's a lot of money for
Yeah.
a one-time
With this
thing.
banner, it would absolutely destroy the view of the bridge as you're coming up Michigan Avenue. And that's, a lot of people take that picture, enjoy that. So I can't see it being useful.
I think this originated from the group that presented to us before.
Yeah, the bridge ladies.
Yeah, and they were talking about creating events in the downtown core. And I know it came from something like that. I don't know. I had a different view of it because I know I've been in some municipalities where they string lights. It's more of a lighting display than a banner. And they create I don't know, a visual effect for the downtown core. Would it also be able to be used for something like that?
The poles would be, in terms of a structure, they'd be able to support whatever weight we would look at putting in the place. So if it was something about lights, I would make sure that the engineer understood that these would be the instruments that we'd be looking at being able to put up that, and confirm that would be the case.
Yeah, they got lots of truck traffic down there for your height restrictions, because that's a delivery for all transport trucks.
Correct.
And having said that, my next question was gonna be, do we have existing infrastructure that we could tie into utility poles or anything where we could do something?
We do not know.
My recommendation is we drop it. Because it's a want, not a need.
And I think if we're having a special event down there, we have on the poles, we already have our banner holders. So for the anniversary, I assume would create some new ones for all those poles, and that's how we would get the atmosphere rather than a banner across the road. So I'd say we just remove it totally.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point to utilize the banners. I mean, we already have transitional banners that we've put money into along that area, so you could have anniversary banners or something down the road at a cheaper cost, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. On this end of the table. Any questions? Mary Ann, do you have any questions?
If I may, I've got some news you're not really gonna like.
Mhm.
We have always budgeted in the capital budget for parks. $23,000, so it's line number 8000-0243. We budgeted $23,000 last year, and that's we've always had 4 students. One of them got charged to this account, and then it also pays for materials for the parks and stuff. We determined that should be an operating expense, so we cut it from capital, but did not add it into operating. So that $23,000 needs to be added into operating somewhere.
Or we go with 3 students.
Or you go with 3 students, yeah. And go without the material, like I don't know the breakdown between materials and students. It's not just the student, there's materials involved in that as well.
So it's an additional $23,000 you're wanting to put somewhere.
Yes.
And where are you putting it?
Into the operating budget, like actually, sorry, it would go, there is a budget line already for summer students, so we just added into that and, maybe change the definition, like the wording of the line might now need to read students and materials. I'm a little bit behind here. So it's account number 80,0243. We reduced it by $23,000,
Mhm.
and then it should be added to line 750770-12, wages for summer students.
Yeah.
I would put it all there this year, and then we could review it if we want to separate out student wages from the materials and which portion is which. We could do that, but I don't know the breakdown right now of what is wages and what is materials.
So then this is, should the budget for 2025 for that line is 60,000 instead, yes?
Yeah. And I understand that's completely the wrong direction, but
I'm sorry, why the big change in the budget?
so we cut it out of capital because
Right.
it's an operating, and we just forgot to add it back in on the operating.
But
side.
just one of the students, not,
Yeah.
Right, yeah, in this,
Oh.
in the operating budget, always paid for 3,
right,
and just Tina always put the 4th one in the capital side.
can someone shed more light onto what each of these 4 students for the balance?
They all do the same thing. I mean, they weren't given different responsibilities. They do everything that a public works.
It was just an
What do we do?
accounting game.
Yeah. It was
Lack
one of
a
those
proper
things,
Term, right, Jane?
like,
So-
like all
so-
those things that we've removed from capital and put into operating. It was an expense that was left in capital because we didn't have operating dollars. So
Jessica?
Well, Deputy Mayor Grimes suggested, what would we save by dropping one student? It's not like we haven't made any offers yet, so that could be a consideration.
yeah, I would guess, I mean, the other line, we're
Like
paying,
to save something.
it would be about 12,000 for a student. But, yeah, well,
So the 23, so 11, so half of that 23 is the student, and
probably
half is
about,
probably
give or
materials.
take.
So 12,000 for a student's not really a huge savings. But. And as we've alluded to, we have an aging workforce, nothing against that, but that increases vacation entitlement, sick time.
Yeah.
You drop a student, that's a big hit on our labor pool for the summer,
Mhm.
when our staff should be taking their vacation and not worrying about workload and the like. So I'm not really comfortable deleting that student. Especially when it's just been it's just a count in there.
Yeah,
Like we
and we don't have to make the decision right now either, but I think like the other issue we have to come back that I have written down here, it's one that we should revisit. I really don't think we should cut that. It's, we need the manpower, the materials, obviously, we're not wasting money on materials. But we can work out where it goes.
But the materials, help me understand, that's mulch and flowers and the like, is it? Is that what you're charging to that? Okay,
I would assume so. I'll bring up the account here and I can get you a rough. 750270.
Could be clothing for the kids, could be fun on, like I wouldn't buy it for all.
So payroll,
I always put that.
Jim's just ducking over.
payroll stuff, Green Shield.
Green Shield, they don't get benefits.
Green Shield.
We pay them monthly for their phones, we buy their clothes, there's their own, expenditures. for the students, but I didn't think that. PPE.
Right. But I thought I recall that it's where we were buying flowers, like for the flower beds and the mulch, is what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
That's not showing in here, but
Okay, it might have got buried in another
I've
account.
never quoted anything in the time that I've done to that account. So that's always paid through something.
How did that account end up last year? The 23,000, did we only spend 12?
sorry, I'm in the wrong account.
No. Stand by.
Pretty sure.
This was
75.
budgeted at 23, but it actually was 13. eight line movements.
7507, maybe. Classes don't work as good as they should. So it's showing we spent 36,000. Why is it not giving me the details?
In that account that we had 23,000?
No, the 35,000 one.
Okay,
So,
we're more
but
concerned
you
about
want the
23,000.
Hey, wages, payroll, benefits, payroll, WSIB. It's all wages and benefits.
So no materials.
No,
And how much do we spend on that, all that payroll?
13,115.
Well, let's drop it to 14,000, transfer over only. Obviously, the materials aren't being charged to that.
And it was all employment related stuff. Okay, so we need to add then 14,000 to line number. Do it again. Line number 75077012. We're gonna add 14,000.
It becomes 51.
I have a question about the battery building. In 2024, we budgeted 500 and used 309. This year, we are budgeting 1,000.
Thank you. As we get closer to the 2020 water budget, the hatchery building will be the backdrop for some of the activities and specifically that playground that we're looking at that space, that it is starting to peel and starting to paint, start to do some repairs, upgrading beforehand. As we start to move into town.
Great, thank you.
I have a question on the revenue side, on the hanging baskets. There hasn't been a huge uptake on that like we expected. Should we be re-putting that out to the public?
Sure.
Because
Yep,
our
we can.
expenses are more than what we were hoping to recoup. And yeah, we're getting a little bit of money, but
Well, we're actually not getting anything now unless the people have already repaid, because it was a 2-year thing.
No, it's 1 year and they renew every year. Yeah.
I thought it was 2 years and then.
No, your first year was double to pay for everything and then,
But there's no expense to it either, right?
Yeah,
Like we
because-
put the baskets up anyway.
Did you get reached out to pay now?
I'm
yep,
just saying,
oh yeah,
can
I got a bill from Tina.
re-advertise that?
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, she was good at that. So I think every year we should be putting out a constant contact saying the program's available if you want to get into it.
Buying the baskets anyways, right?
Yeah.
What line item was that?
There's no change. I don't know what line number.
It's 0040 6760040.
Any other questions?
Arcs, no.
Okay. Next. We are moving on to Public Works. Who would like to go first?
He's on my.
Okay. Uh, The sunshine, that fencing there, that's been on here for a number of years. I was wondering, we were holding off to see if we could get some money from Veteran Affairs on that. And I don't know how that's progressed or whatever. And I'm suggesting we just move that into the Parks Reserve, maybe with the other 14,000, and we can either use it there or wherever else we need fence work done. This is what this seems to be evolved to.
What account number?
We found that, waiting to find out about the lot.
Oh, that's right too.
So we were waiting to find out if we acquired that, then we could do a big renovation of both together, I believe was.
Yeah,
the
thanks,
intent.
Steve, that's right. Yeah, you're right, sorry. I forget about that because it's been sitting for so long.
But there was no money allocated to this.
9,000.
Oh, for previous.
Yeah, it's carried forward.
Just carry forward.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, to mention it, but
So we'll continue to carry it forward. Is
We'll
that
carry
what
it,
we'll do?
yeah.
Okay.
I just forgot the reasoning of it. I have another question on the Light Street Christmas lights for 15,000. I think that's a want, not a need. I don't see benefit of that at this point in time, considering what we're going through in that area at the moment. So I can't support that.
So I disagree. I think we put Light Street through a lot with the construction. Try to find that right word again. And I think that we owe it to that business district that is growing. Like we put those few lights up at Helena Street, and I got a lot of positive comments on those. And I think if we could extend that Helena Street, Light Street Business District with some nice Christmas lights, I think it's a win-win. And I just think we owe it to that business area to get them some Christmas cheer. But is 15,000 the right amount? I don't know. Could it be 10? I don't know. But
If I may,
Yeah.
the 15,000, once I was approached in regards to identifying this, that's a very raw number to be able to support along those long poles. I certainly talked to staff and talked to Blue Water Power, as those are high voltage lines
Yeah.
along there. There would be some infrastructure requirement to install something that they would approve of, to be able to put down in that space. So that's it's a very raw number that, and I think lowering that number would be a challenge if we're looking at putting in infrastructure of any.
Yeah. do they make solar light decorations, I wonder?
They do exist. I would have to do some further research.
Because that might be an option if we're worried about high voltage and getting up there for solar, right? Save some.
Why we had the existing plugs.
Yeah.
On those
Yeah.
poles, so that's why we decided to put them there.
Yeah,
A lot of the poles that you're speaking of along Light Street and stuff, they do not have that.
right.
So that would be a cost as well. And like Mike said, they'd have to be set at a level that my staff is allowed to go to, and we have to be below a certain
Yeah.
point below those high voltage.
Yes, yeah.
I agree with keeping it. I think it's kind of a gateway into the village. A lot of people turn left off of Front Street on the light to come through, and it's kind of a first impression. And now that we have put some grass in there and spruced it up a little bit, I think it's one of those areas, especially, if you're coming into town to come up the highway to go to the arena, you'll come right through there and follow St. Clair Street. I think it's important to make that good first impression.
That's two.
Your hand?
Yes, I was approached by a business, sorry. And one of their reasons was we support Michigan Ave. We extended it down to Helena Street. And it's only fair to recognize the businesses in the area of Light Street. And I agree with that sentiment. And again, they have gone through a lot. Not, not all our fault, but they've gone through a lot. So I think that would show appreciation.
Could we possibly make this, like, does it have to be for lights? I'm not saying it can't be for lights, but with the challenges that are in place, if we can leave it open to Christmas decoration along that area, that way if the lights turn out to be something that's going to go way above and beyond, or just not going to work out properly, that could be used still to beautify that area in whatever way best fits the budget.
I appreciate that in the sense that the infrastructure to even install the lights would be necessary on this pole, so that would give a little bit more flexibility for.
Yeah, the only thing there is we would have to purchase those things.
Correct.
Mhm.
Whereas the lighting, we do have a surplus of the pole lighting. So we would be able to, we wouldn't have to purchase, we might have to purchase the roof lighting, but we do own the frames already, so.
Yeah, and I
Or
wouldn't
visual
rule out
effects.
lighting at all. I would not want to rule out lighting. I think lighting is definitely a nice simple way of doing that. I mean, just having that option of using that budget for something else if the lighting is just not going to be possible. Without having to put more money into it or being too sparse to the point where it's not really worth it.
If you only have primary lines there for high voltage, you're not dropping it down.
Yeah.
Without a transformer, you're talking.
Yes.
So what are we putting for this one then?
I just leave it. So I have an item. So this year we are making great inroads in pedestrian safety and making the village more walkable between all our crosswalks on Michigan, on St. Clair. And I know the Venetian crosswalk came in at a number that almost made me choke. I've talked to Mike about it. So the crosswalk at Venetian is beyond end of life. I think it's been cremated and buried. So it poses a liability to us because we are operating a crosswalk that does not meet the standards of a crosswalk. I think we need to address this year and move it back from unfunded into funded, especially since we're changing the standard for all crosswalks in the village to the new standard, and then to have one outlier that's just, it doesn't function the same. As I met with Mike about this because I was, the initial number was 30. I asked Jim, can you go talk to Mike about getting a better number? And then he presented 56. So we did sit down and talk about it. And he explained to me that, you have to bring it all up to the tactile curb markings. Some of the infrastructure will work, some won't. I said there's power, but as Mike's hearing, solar's probably the way to go for the actual lights. And the new standard is you have to have enough illumination of the immediate crosswalk area to be able to operate a crosswalk. And right now that's very dark. So it would include street lighting to light up the crosswalk, which makes it safer for everybody. Mike did indicate that 56 is a generous number if everything goes wrong, and that it would probably be less, maybe, but there's a lot of contingency in there for if it goes wrong. So I think we owe it to the way we're moving forward with pedestrian safety and trail use and just overall safety in the village to bring this into funded and do it this year.
I agree that safety is definitely a priority and that that's not one of the items that should be pushed off.
Thank you.
Number you.
I don't have a number. In
Yeah, I don't
capital.
think there's a number, Jen.
Called Venetian Crosswalk.
I can make a comment on that. I'm looking also at the Michigan traffic intersection, and that original price is more than double.
So the big reason for that is the underground infrastructure work wasn't included in the original quote. So that's, I addressed or recognized that the other day myself and Deputy Mayor Grimes as well, that the original quote was about 270 or something. The underground work is more than the actual above ground. That's why that price is up so much higher.
And they should really be two separate items, I would think, to not create this confusion. So the Michigan Avenue crosswalks are unchanged, right? Basically.
Yeah, we basically, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't have a breakout between the crosswalk work and the underground work. We were given, the engineer put together a quote and just included all the work in it. It's not broken out between two separate things because it's one project.
And one could assume Livingston in Michigan might be even coming a little bit cheaper because we're only digging the road up and the curbs once, right? Where if we had done that repair when it first broke and then came in to do the crosswalks, we'd be paying twice to do a lot of work.
But this price we got from them is based, like, we just got it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't expect it to come in. That should be a decent number.
So that would be Livingston,
Monk.
Monk, Alfred, St. Clair is included in the project.
Mhm.
I think this extra crosswalk is a lot to handle, although I understand there is a new building there. That number looks very, very high because I know I got some quotes from suppliers that I think I forwarded earlier in the process for St. Clair, and they were at least half that. So it's just make the numbers high. Like, as you said, there's contingency and all that built in. But if we're gonna do it, maybe we do it all at once. We've got.
That's what we're, that's why I'm asking to have it up back.
I know the county last week, I wonder if this one, I'm not sure if council's aware. That if they go ahead with the repairs and the changes down in the ridge.
Yeah.
That they are recommending change their sheet crosswalks now.
Yep.
They're recommending going from one.
Yeah.
So just possibly next year. We're gonna be looking at
Another one.
another one, so. Just so you're aware.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's still pretty fresh with the county, but they did bring it up.
And a fresh install is more expensive than this.
So we have two people prepared to move it to funded.
The safety, yes, I can support it.
Okay.
Don't like the number, but let's get it done and see where it definitely comes in
Thank you.
lower.
So you got that, Jim?
Yeah, we'll get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, from unfunded to funded. It also helps us with education, right? Because all our crosswalks will be the same. And another addition Mike talked about is AOD compliant with the bigger buttons and the sound effects and all that stuff to help the blind and disabled. So
Well, and maintenance, if they're all the same, then we get the same parts.
yeah, and Blue Water Power have told us the Venetian crosswalk, there are no parts. The last parts he got off eBay, and there's no way that, so if those lights all go, we're dead in the water.
People still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, then another question on that. All of these would be the same then,
yes.
from the same manufacturer?
In the efforts to maintain as much cost savings as possible, the manufacturer that produced the crosswalk at Venetian would be different than the crosswalks that we see at Michigan. Michigan, the four that we see down there would be exact same vintage, same color, same technology. The one on Venetian, because again, it was a different manufacturer, we're gonna go back to that manufacturer to see if we can utilize existing bases to be able to replace some in terms of without replacing fully a fresh install of everything crazy. So they will be updated with new technologies according to that. The manufacturing might be different between downtown two.
And Blue Water Power is sourcing this?
Correct.
We are not sourcing this?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Councilor Burgess, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Mary Ann, do you have any questions?
Sorry, no, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you. We can move to operating.
You want me to,
Sure, if you're ready to go.
Yep. Mike, you've already got a heads up on some of these questions. Number one would be the garbage 2015 garbage truck. It's not a huge number, but I'm just curious why the budget's going up when the actual was down, or is that just timing? So it's gone, you're asking for 1,500, last year was 1,200, and we spent 400.
So again, looking at my 3-year analytics, initially our 3 years ago was over $2,000 on the $1,500 budget. The next year it was $1,000 on the $1,500 budget, and then this year, I'm not sure exactly if all the numbers have been accumulated in regards to that, so it was an estimation of making sure that we recaptured all the costs that.
Okay.
And that's,
Yeah, that's fair.
Just through the mayor to council, as I am aware of this one, this is kind of tied with the current year or the last year's inflation, so
Okay.
it's always increase.
Okay. Garbage fuel, again, 12,000 budgeted, 9,000 spent, and then you're wanting 15,000. And my understanding carbon tax comes off on the weekend, so
again, with the 3-year, everything, all the budgets that I looked at were 3-year analytics. So previously, we were almost $12,000 in 2022. We were just over $10,000 in 23, and then last year, again, with the fuel, I'm assuming that we're not at the full costing is yet. I'm not quite sure where we sit with that, but as you mentioned, carbon tax is coming down, but with the inflationary prices that we're looking at in fuel specifically, I've done a little bit of research in regards to this. We're in a bit of a very interesting space where there's trends going up and trends going down. I would just.
does anybody want to modify that, or?
I have a question on that. Is this regular or diesel?
Garbage truck fees.
This is diesel? Diesel's always more expensive than regular diesel, by far. So. you pay a premium.
Okay. The waste tipping fees, is there a big increase proposed? Because again, 8,000 in 24 budgeted, we spent less than half, and now you want 10. Is it more compost coming or more, or is this for the garbage we collect and take to the dump, or is this Marcotte fee?
This is normal.
Okay,
No, the county pays, we don't pay
Okay.
tippage for household waste.
all right.
Again, looking at the 3-year analytics in 22, we paid over 12,300 on a $16,000 budget. Then the budget was reduced. We ended up getting in 23 actual is 4,200 in that range, and then this year we're at 87 according to the numbers that I had. I running the analytics, trying to identify what the next phase would be for the inflation, but again, that's.
Did we not change transfer stations and that resulted in savings? And so is that,
Looking at what you're looking at, I don't know if that's. That's only just 3 on it, right?
Yeah, that's the garbage disposal.
So, like where you see fuel, it says Marcotte Delaware, so that to me is Marcotte's fuel, what they use. I could be wrong there, but we have a fuel line item. I fill up our garbage truck from the fuel tank in our backyard.
yeah,
So I feel that most of those, like this, the collection. I don't feel that's ours. I feel like we're paying Marcotte top market.
Absolutely.
Wrong there, but I believe
Absolutely.
from my past experience with this, like, I don't have a separate line item for fuel for my garbage truck.
No, that's.
so I'm assuming this fuel one is all our fuel, would it be not be?
So that fuel there, because it says Marcotte Dowler, I
Right.
feel like Marcotte
Oh, yeah,
uses Dowler Carn to fill their tank and fill bills us a percentage of it, and that's the percentage, so.
I think
feel
if you-
that
Yes.
Is to Marcotte, not our.
I was like a fuel surcharge from.
That's
our-
correct.
Correct.
That's the way the
Yes,
contract
We
works.
do have a fuel line in above in our public works.
And our truck is a 2015 garbage truck, but when we repair, like we do it, go into our. Truck repairs, they don't go into this line item, so. And then the 126 obviously is what we pay for our contract, that's nothing anywhere close to what we pay to tip.
Yeah, so going
Where
back to,
our fees are, it's probably, it is waste tipping, it's in the,
That's what we're talking about.
that is what you're talking about? Okay, so that's the 3,000, okay. So, yeah.
so maybe we go back to the fuel and we'll drop it by 2,000 since it's a fuel surcharge. And it hasn't. Been around $9,000, right, last year?
Not last year, it was not, no.
Yeah.
In 22, it was almost 12.
That's the fuel, the Marcotte Dow.
That's correct.
And the waste tipping fees, why is it so much higher then?
And waste tipping fees in 2022 were 12, almost 12.3.
What I'm trying to
Mhm.
understand is why is it up so high when we went to a new provider? I thought they were gonna save us money.
So Mike is basing his
on actual-
estimate on 3-year averages.
Okay,
And again, with only a single year of physical
Yeah, yeah.
understanding of what's going on, I'm making
Okay.
estimations on the details that I have from previous history, so.
okay. And then, last one is sand and salt. Do we need to move that up so high when we have a sand and salt reserve? Like last year, we went through a lot of sand and salt, I understand. But like, we have a reserve that's put aside for a crappy winter. Can we just maintain what was budgeted in 24? $72.10 $11.60.
My thoughts on that are this winter that we saw, we could see consistent winters like this or worse with the way that things have been, the trending of the environment. We will probably see an increased need for sand and salt. I would hate to see us deplete those reserves on a normal year and then not have those on a worse year. If this year is not just an outlier.
I was about to say, good to echo that, thank you, is currently, since November, our first invoice in November, which was delivered in December, we spent almost $44,000 in salt. To date.
Okay, that's all I have. I'm just trying to pay for a crosswalk.
Councilor Burgess?
I just have one area. Compost disposal. How many municipalities have weekly compost pickup that, you know, I might be putting you on the spot, I apologize, but I don't understand why we do it weekly in July and August. It's dry. It's like people are working hard to rake up something to put out. Is there any way we can cut back on that? Like, I never put out anything on compost day. I use my leaves, I compost in my yard, I use mulch in my own flower beds. And I see the trucks go out once a week, especially when it's incredibly dry. I know my kids have cut lawns in the summertime and their funds dry up like the grass in July and August. Is there any way we can cut back on that a little bit, reduce that budget line?
I just want to add, we can, but the calendar's been done,
Yeah,
so we'd have to do it for the following.
You're
summer.
not really saving, like, you're saving some like wear and tear of the vehicle and time.
Mhm.
But generally those days, because it is light. We're not taking a lot to compare to, like, there's days in the fall where we go 3 or 4 times. So there's some savings, I guess. But
yeah, I understand.
I don't think
We're
you're
still
not-
paying wages and
yeah,
everything
like,
like
I mean,
that.
you'd
but I just-
actually, like Sarnia does what they do sticks once a month and then they do grass once a month, right? And I feel that we have conditioned our residents to say it's every Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's already bags out. Right?
And
But I
we,
see people cutting their grass and kicking up dust and there's no grass to cut because they want.
But we still pick up bags, but we still pick stuff up, people are still doing their garden, I'm not saying that we couldn't,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it would be worth
But we
the public, like.
and wouldn't you rather pick up a bag every week than one that's sat there for 2 weeks and have the bottom rot out?
What's that?
Wouldn't you rather pick up every week than every 2 weeks and have the bags bottom rot out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know how much I'm looking forward to this rainy weekend, 'Cause people are gonna have it out. You know, but that's the nature of the beach, but yeah.
Yeah, and this time of year, people are cleaning up the leaves
I'm looking at
that
stuff that's left over from-
that got snowed upon and, you know,
Find it on
with the
here.
trees, but I'm just saying in the middle of.
No, I understand. what you're-
I just question it every time I see the trucks go out and wonder who's putting out something. I see people
You'd be
drop at
surprised
their
how many
friend's
houses-
house in Point Edward and put their compost out where they live somewhere else.
If I can make a comment on, I think St. Clair Township last year, they had it in the spring, they cut it off for the summer and had it in the fall. And it was due to budget.
Yeah, maybe that's something you should put out to the public and see how they feel.
Yeah.
Right?
And another,
Oh,
we
we
shouldn't be
know.
driven by the calendar and either to make decisions. You know. like
No.
Your hand.
anyway.
My suggestion is that this goes on the task list for a discussion to be determined this fall as a plan for next year if you want to make changes. And it is an emotional issue because I know a lot of my neighbors appreciate the service, so, but if we
And-
want to talk about it, talk
And,
about it.
and
in
this
the
year,
fall.
we'll be doing draft budgets in October, November. And if-
Exactly.
And if it's a direction we're headed, then we could update the calendar, so.
But really, it seems to me like it's set for this year, and I think plan ahead if you want to make a change.
Again, just something to consider. I think I see a diesel vehicle driving around and I don't know what they're picking up. And it is manageable if you truly care about the planet, like you can mulch your own and keep it. And I have multiple maple trees on my property that lose tons of leaves and I just think it could be managed a bit better.
Mary Ann, do you have any more questions?
No, I just think, Paul, you do more than a lot. I mean, I think we have a lot of seniors in our community. And I don't think they do as much as you do at your house. I mean, that's great. You do all that. I just know there are people that aren't.
Thank you. I have one question about the public works fuel line. We had an increase in 20% for this budget. Why such a large increase?
Again, we've been trending in that way with regards to from 22 to 23 to 24, all operating in 26 to $25,000 range. We do support not only all the public works vehicles, but we also support the fire truck as well in terms of all the fuel that's necessary for that. Again, with the volatility that we saw in the marketplace, there is some concerns that I would want to have a level of comfort to make sure that we had the capability to support all the fuel that was going to be necessary to run all the pieces of equipment as we had. But that was just an estimation. I have to make understanding all the pressures and such.
You're also increasing your fleet by one pickup truck. Although it won't take that much gas, but.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question on the signal maintenance. It went from, about 8,000 up to 15, so that's a significant increase. And
What is,
does that include the crosswalk and pedestrians? No, on the nation?
No, but that's the question. Thank you. Or again, the 3-year trending average, 22, we were 10,000, 23, we're at almost 14,000. And then last year, 7, I do understand there was a couple of invoices that came in late from the file about signal repairs that we had put out in the fall that I didn't see on the bill, so I was concerned that we were gonna exceed that budget as well, so that was the reason. As our infrastructure, a lot of the lighting infrastructure is older in the building, it's the village and say. Blue Water Power does do all the maintenance on that.
Okay, so this is all the water tower stuff, this is not just the signals at the intersections?
It's signals and.
And
Yes,
everything else?
that's
Thank
correct.
you.
But do we have to go double the actual for this year? I guess we budgeted that before. I guess you're saying yes.
Any other questions on this section?
Just while we're here, 7210-1220 licenses and fees. Is that your 5,000 number being maintained because of your 3-year usage, or are you adding more licenses and fees? I assume this is software related, or
I'm just looking here, the licensing and fees. That actual number is out by almost $4,000. There was at the very end of the year, at the MTO, all the vehicles, I went and relicensed all of them, and it was around
also for
$4,000.
that? Okay.
So those are the licensing and fees for all of them.
Like the commercial inspections, the yellow sticker
That's
stuff.
correct.
There
Which
has
have
been an
increased
increase.
dramatically.
Yes, I heard that, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that to do more to the fact that all vehicles, including J's, are now on the commercial vehicle registry, so they
Great.
all have to have annual safeties. That annual safety went from being about $200 to $500 or $600
Yeah.
due to the Ministry of Education.
Mhm.
So all of those increased this year due to.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we will move on to fire. Yes. Sure.
The 6530, 001. Is that the, what we said?
6530.
Revenues, the 6530000. Is that the review?
Yeah, shared pumping station costs.
I'll put it in.
Yeah, right. We haven't sent the bill yet.
Yeah.
He's.
All numbers in.
Right, need a break?
No.
It wasn't a year for Gavin to get an extra $12 a year.
Would anybody like to start?
I'll start. So, an office furniture carried over $3,000. And I know we had previously discussed written flooring in your office, is that? I mean, this is just a discussion. Is that where that money's gonna be used now?
Yeah, I would put in there, due to just computer upgrades, anything that has been done in the office. But I don't know since that was brought in, I don't know if that's done through the office now, or that's what it was, there was nothing like that. But it could be, yes.
Because I know that we've talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it as a line
Yeah.
item, so.
Yeah, we definitely can. Yeah, we could, yep.
Fire hall facade. Now, I know we've had some discussions about this. And the fire hall and the library are one building, you know. And I know you were looking at doing work on the fire hall side. Do you have, like, I think we have a placeholder here for 25,000. Do we have any more details on that?
Yeah, I just got it today, actually, and we're quite surprised to see, did okay. So as you know, I was looking at just doing some upgrades, try to put a Band-Aid on, make it a little bit better, more welcoming in the community. So I looked at painting our doors, I looked at painting the brick, painting the soffit and stuff, just to see what they could do with that. putting cement between the church parking lot and ours. And then putting some decorative flower pots in there for strictly summertime, and then we can take them out for winter for the guys that are there. The total I got right now for all the painting of the complete all of everything. And the cement. Is around 13,000. For what they're giving me right now, but that's not doing the flowers and the landscaping. We're pretty close for doing a little bit of an upgrade. And if we start changing all the aluminum or stuff like that. And keep in mind that the painter that did come, he said he doesn't know for sure if we would have to paint the brick. He said we might be able to combine a different color with the rest of it, that'll make it blend really nice and leave the brick alone. So there's some different options. But that's not the library, that's strictly
Yeah,
from the fire hall.
Because I know there was a concern raised about the library looking different from the fire hall.
Yeah.
And yet they are one.
Yeah.
One unit, one building, so. Anybody else got any
I'm
comments
just,
on that?
I was listening, but I didn't grasp. So this is painting the yellow at the top of the hall.
Yeah.
Repainting or replacing the fire department, the red letters.
No.
What are you gonna,
Instead to do the doors, paint all the aluminum, and possibly the brown.
what are you gonna do with those red letters, those faded red letters?
They can be painted, Greg, I know those ones there. I think they're plastic, those ones.
Mhm.
But we would try to work with it the best that we could for now. I mean, ideally, I thought instead of everything that's going on in the village for the next little bit, I know we got a lot of projects going. I just thought if we did something minimal, just to give it a little bit of a facelift, and even we had to do it in stages. Following year, you could do something else maybe. Yeah,
I just think that we paint the doors with the brand new red paint. Those letters are only gonna look like even more faded
Yeah.
and worn out and.
Yeah.
And that, and I don't understand the need for this cement, especially since, doesn't the roof drain into that grassy area?
it does go right to that corner, yeah.
Yeah, so what are we gonna do with that water?
If it'll go down when it can be routed, so it just goes down the driveway like the rest of it, I don't know.
I just worry about it accumulating in the winter and turning into an ice patch there or
Yeah.
whatever, and I think, I just worry about, grass and ground is where we drain all water naturally, and if we eliminate that, that's a big vast area with nowhere for water runoff to naturally go, right?
Yeah,
So
now whether it could go around and go to the side of the building, I don't know, but
you're bringing the cement up to the actual corner of the building, is that
I
your?
have it right now, it's about a foot away from the building for what I quoted. And I'm probably about 6 inches north of the pole. And we'd use the front of the pole, leave that, so in case the pole ever had to be replaced. And just do some landscaping in there. These are just ideas I'm throwing out that we have to kind of plan it ourselves. This isn't hiring some firm to come in and tell me exactly what to do, so.
Another one on that, like, this does not include anything to do with the sign.
No, no, and I figured to the sign will be strictly some little bit of touch up of trim plan to freshen it up, and maybe the sign might have to be changed. And the number that Jim put in there of 25, I think that's a pretty close number we could probably work with to give it some kind of an upgrade to improve it. The cement, it's just the grass is always between the salt, people driving on it. And that's still making sure that the church is still, will work with us about putting that all in the cement too. But, I mean, it's a good point, Greg, but I think we could go around maybe or something, but it's just, it always looks bad.
And then
Well,
painting the brick is still a preference?
Yeah, I mean, I even had one fellow tell me, he told me, do not paint it, he said stain it. And then I've got stain paint and then leave it alone and we'll make the colors, make that blend in a little nicer.
thank you.
I prefer to leave the brick. I think it's fine.
Now, if we left the brick, and we could make the colors work. And I don't think it costs a lot more to do all the aluminum right across the front of the library to paint it either. I wouldn't think it'd be huge.
Mhm.
And we got continuity.
Then we have the continuity. Like I said, I am trying to do it for nothing, basically. But obviously that's not gonna happen.
Marianne, did you have a comment?
Sorry, I had to get on mute. I'm good with I don't like to see painted brick. That's just me. I like the idea of like the continuity that we talked about for the library and fire hall. I kind of like the grass rather than seeing more cement, but those are my personal comments. So the grass between the fire hall and the church.
I would like to see the library included in it within this budget in some way, if that means to the change in the plan for brick or phases or whatever that looks like. I think the beautification will make more sense and have more of an effect if it's the whole unit.
So can I make a recommendation that we approve 20,000 and ask Doug to bring his plans to spend the 20,000 to the fire committee and get fire committee to agree to the scope, whether it includes the cement or painting brick or whatever, let committee deal with it, but we'll just set the number and go from there. Is that sound like a plan?
I can agree with that.
And that's only one quote.
Yeah.
That's only
I
one
support,
quote. So, I mean, that's.
I support that plan.
So we're going from 25 to 20?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that the scope of work would come to committee for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that almost paid for.
Next one would be, your truck replacement.
Yes, what would you like to know about that?
When is that truck being delivered?
Possible your truck replacement, how's that?
I know that everybody's getting up in arms about the tariffs, or with possibly, I haven't heard anything from 1200 degrees at all, period about it.
Oh, I'm talking about. not
Oh, my
that
truck, okay.
Your
all right,
truck.
Okay, my truck,
Your chief's truck.
yes, yeah, so it's, that's the one that we originally were gonna replace, and then we switched the trucks around to make it work. The other truck was a lot older. So, yeah, just trying to keep up with the times of, before we're gonna spend a bunch of money. And believe me, I hate doing it because the cost of the truck.
Oh, no. You're gonna go lay down? Oh,
But we have to pay for lights, definitely.
no, don't.
All the rest of it.
Lost my train of thought.
My truck.
Okay, well, when we got the other one in 22,
Yes,
and I thought, I know, maybe I was misled, but I thought that truck would move up and become your command vehicle at some point.
we were gonna do that then, but it was gonna cost me more money because of the light package, and so we said, well, why don't we just do it this way so we can save money? Cause the other, it's just the two trucks are just, we're trying to keep them at least a few years apart so that we're not changing all the time.
Okay.
And the trucks, the condition of the truck's fine and stuff, but it's just starting to see its wear and tear, and it is the same thing, it's an emergency response vehicle that we're not the easiest on them, it's old.
The other vehicle, I think, was it 10 years?
It's a 2016.
So the one is a 2016.
Was it 2016 years, was it 2012? 2011, okay, so that was 10, 11 years, okay. Well, anybody got any other ideas on this?
All right, I'll throw something out there just for. It's another word I can't use, but, so we're challenged with the money for this pumper truck, right? We're halfway there, delivery could be in 2 years. Potential of a 25% tariff, maybe. So I'm wondering if we could delay unit 4 by a year, take the $85,000 that's funded or proposed for it, and put that into the pumper reserve so that we're getting closer to that target, and then take another year with number four. And that just gives us more comfort in paying for the pumper.
It's, I think we all know, we're all guessing at all this.
Oh, I know.
Everything's going, our pickup are going up.
Yep.
They're talking about everything just going up.
Yep.
I mean. the
This
truck
could be
is- the truck
$100,000.
Is not gonna drop.
No.
that. We're just trying to stay.
Yep. Yeah, it could be $100,000 truck next year, right? Yeah. But at the same time, the pumper to me is our high priority vehicle acquisition, and we're not, we're not there, right? If we had the full reserve and we said to transfer it over, I'd be all for this, but I think we need to focus on building that reserve.
It's on that, like. After this year, we put 200 in, we'll be 850. It's 1.3, so we're still 450 short. And we don't have a definite timeline on when that's coming in, so. If it comes in the end of 26, like that's gonna be heavy on, we gotta put a lot of money away in the next 2 years, so this just helps push that further because we're committed on this one.
Yeah,
We can't decide, oh, no, we don't have the money, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
so I'd like, I agree with what Deputy Mayor said there about, continuing to build this reserve up. And keep in mind that, always that if there's a catastrophic failure or something, where we can help with a pickup at that point. But I think this should be our priority.
I can agree with you.
Mayor Hand, anything?
Sorry, this mute button. No, I thought that sounded like a good plan, and I see none of us know what's going to happen, and it sounds like a way to move forward.
You do know we're committed to the truck.
Everything's on.
Yeah.
We're gonna switch it. Yeah, it's not gonna make any difference.
But so it's slowing it down to when we have to actually pay, and then we'll know what's going on.
Then 2026, there's gonna be an ask for a truck. In 2027, there's gonna be an ask for a truck. We keep deferring it. Then when we go to take delivery of the engine in the end of 26 or 27. And we're gonna still have an ask for.
But the money we're putting in reserve now would go towards the command vehicle truck, right?
Reserve, you're putting reserve in for the command vehicle?
No, we're putting the pumper. Once the pumper is paid for, then we'll no longer be transferring a big chunk of money into reserve. And then we'd be able to afford, like, and we may be able to do it in 26 when we get the final numbers, or like. We're just trying to build up that reserve so we have that safety net now, so we don't have to go so deep into stuff. So we're just looking at one more year, not even one more year, because we're gonna do this budget in 9 months. Yeah.
But then next, to go on what Deputy Chief said, then we got a ladder to look at. As well as,
Or whatever, yeah.
like, it's gonna be continuous. Because we gotta build some savings in to get these equipment, especially with, and the uncertainty of what's coming as far as our population base and all that goes as well. So.
Now, the only thing I have a question of is the meeting room chair replacement. Are you looking at tables and chairs, or just like similar to what you have now, or?
All I priced was some chairs at Uline. And I would get a couple of folding tables, but I want to get rid of those. They've been there since
Right.
a long time, and the legs are starting to go out, and some of them, we keep on getting kids'
Yeah.
fingers pinched in there, so.
No, I'm all for it. I just wonder if that's enough money for 30 some odd chairs.
We will work with that to start off. If you start with chairs in the following year, they're gonna grab a few more tables, we can, but.
Okay.
We're not trying to do the whole thing.
And we have a lot of tables at the arena too, like as an interim fix, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you would change the whole
Huge ones.
format of that room, no
Yeah.
longer be that
All
theater
just
style.
Chairs in there, and then if we have a special training day, then we would bring the tables in and use them for what we have to.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Stephanie from Manly's reached out to me just recently, and she said that Steel Pace, they've offered freeze on a tax the 25% tariff. If you commit to buying, I think it's before the end of June of 2025. So they were offering it just for even 4 more chairs if council wanted. But it could be something that you might want to look at too through Manly's if it saves you the 25% tariff.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions?
I have nothing. Well,
Deputy Mayor Grimes?
Capitalize nothing.
Was there a change for this?
Well, there's-
Or just removing the fire,
Taking it from the
Uniform.
command vehicle and adding it to the reserve.
Mary Ann, do you have any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Operating,
Operating.
you got the 20,000 big guy, right? We're not down to 20,000 for the.
Oh, yeah.
The facade.
The facade work from 25 to 20.
oh, yes, I did.
That still should be sufficient, right? Because you said your quotes are around 13 or
Only
14.
got one quote, which I have no idea, like I said, this is preliminary. I'm trying to make this up myself to be able to do it as efficient as we can.
And I think we just need to keep in mind that we do have fire hall reserves. So if it comes in at 25, again, can come to committee and see if we can find the money.
I'll charge the library.
There we go, yeah.
one question. Get off lucky.
Silence is death.
Hey, it don't worry me.
Until Deputy Mayor Grimes gets you. Building repairs and maintenance, it's, it looks like the number was somewhere around 8,000, probably between 8 and 10,000 last year. It was 13 budget, now it's going up to 16.3.
I don't have anything in front of me, Tim. All that is just the cost of everything that's going up with anything we get done. Maintenance on our trucks in the hall. Hall's a hit and miss, right? For what happens to it. Now that we've got new air, new furnace, all that stuff's all been replaced. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you for where it's gonna go. All I know is that maintenance for our equipment has been, we really got beat up bad last year for
Well, this is strictly
building,
building,
yeah,
not
yeah.
equipment. Okay. It's rolling the dice, right?
It is. As you all know, I don't waste money.
No.
So. You can do whatever you'd like to do for it, and we'll try to work with it, but. The cost of certain things, we don't get a choice, and it's upsetting, but it is what it is.
Jim, just on that, do we have an updated number on 01-7100 0170? Like,
0170.
yes. Just, it says 8375, I'm just, since we know that's probably not current. Just so that we have another idea.
8,375.
That's it, okay, so that's current. We go back to 13 for like the same as last year. 3,300 off, I don't know, it's just it's a practice. We're looking to save some money. If we spent more than we saved. You want to put it on that, or do we leave it at 16.3?
I mean, if repairs were absolutely needed, then.
They're gonna get done,
So,
we'll make you,
and
we'll find it.
it came in under budget last time, he doesn't waste money.
Oh, no doubt.
So if he needs more money, he knows what to ask, and I think that is reasonable. Change.
Deputy Mayor?
No, I've noticed some good corrections. So there's some down 25%, some down 33, some down 60. So it's nice to see that, again, that fire is contributing and acknowledging when expenses are down. So now And I'd be like,
Building repairs down,
what's that?
the building repairs down to 13,
Mhm.
16.
Training and convention is down, health and
No, I'm
safety.
saying we're.
Oh,
We're
He's
looking to move.
He's proposing a change.
Move it right down.
No.
16.3 to 13.
no, I don't,
You don't like that?
but you others can vote.
Fair hand, any comments?
No, I'd leave it
Leave it?
myself.
Ties a lot.
That's a tie.
Okay, you lose, thank you, 16.3. Doug wins.
Mary Ann, do you have any other questions?
I do not, thank you.
And Deputy Mayor Grimes, you did not have any further questions?
No.
So do not? Thank you very much.
That's how it's done.
I think I got your.
That's because you brought notes and everything.
Don't bring nothing. How's it in your budget? You'll be fine.
Does someone want to get? We are at finance and admin.
Everything else that hasn't been talked about so far.
Sorry, what are we moving to now?
Capital for finance and administration.
Use water, paint.
Yes. And then finger paint it.
Daycare across the street.
Do all their handprints on the door. It'd only be that high up.
Oh, would you like to go first this time?
Where are we?
Finance and
135 Kendall Street.
The bridge.
I would prefer not to go first.
How about?
Just find my spot again.
No problem.
We're finance and admin. Capital.
I'll go first and no way out there. Right. Appreciation night, $16,000. The last number of years, I've had the experience to be involved with a dinner, Christmas dinner, and everything for 180 people. And we do it for under $15,000. So $125 a person, I think, is a little on the high side. We do it for 85 at the Dunkin' Club, so I'm just saying that. This is 130 people for that much, so. I don't know, that's just my experience, just thought I'd relate it. I like the concept, but I think that's a lot of money.
And following up on that, did the costs not come down when we stopped using the Optimus Hall? Like, 'cause we don't decorate now, we don't do the whole. Like,
Well, no, but the meal's a lot more expensive,
okay,
like a lot more expensive at the hotel than it is. I believe the costs are pretty much just the same, like
I thought it was the same.
we budgeted 15, spent 14.6.
okay.
I can tell you what we spent the last few years, if you just bear with me a minute.
We saw a better turnout last year as well, right? I think that was discussed, and we saw that it brought more attendance.
I mean, we're very-
I
Well, because there's less people invited than year before due to the.
That's true too, yeah.
Yeah,
We dusted off our old guest list.
so.
Eventually.
Appreciation. Okay, so in 2023, we spent 12.7. In 2022, we spent 9,300, and I think that's the year that we really cut things back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then year before that was COVID, we didn't spend a penny. So we went from 23, 12, 7, 24. We spent $3,000 more, $2,000 more.
In moving into the hotel.
Yeah.
And increasing,
And I think there was more people.
increasing our guest.
Like the main thing was the main thing was the police. That we only invited like the inspector and the sergeant 1 year. And we got some feedback with that. And so we invited everybody that's, so that was a big increase in numbers, like big 15, maybe roughly 15 people. So,
Just throwing it out there, so.
Well,
Hey.
one of the things you mentioned, the Donny Club, we don't have based on our philosophy, we don't have the luxury of finding a cheap hotel in Sarnia because we're trying to stay within the village. And I think that narrows the market. There's a tentative booking been made at the Golf and Curling Club, just as a placeholder, because for November.
Good recommendation.
No, I don't. I was just looking at the cost, strictly in the amount that my group pays. It's 85 a person. Versus 125. But there again, it's not in the village. And I know that's a priority for us, but I'm just bringing it up for a discussion. If, I'm fine if it doesn't happen, but it's just an option that we. I like last year's location. I don't know if the cost is any different or whatever, but just bringing it up.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on this one while we're on the topic?
So my thoughts are that everything in this list, I propose we move ahead with.
I'm of the same.
Just have one question regarding the 150th. Do we have any idea what any of the other county municipalities spent? I know Warwick, Watford recently had 150, Petrolia recently had 150. Just to see if we're on the right path. I know, I think of more Warwick, Watford, because they're similar in size to us. They're a little bit bigger, but do we have any idea?
I don't. We reached out to Petrolia at one time and like their costs, they couldn't just say, okay, we got a budget of this one. It was spread all over the place. And
Yeah,
I can reach back and see if they have anything
just curious if we're on the
figured
right
out.
track.
Yeah.
Now, I think we have to keep in mind, I threw this out last year just so we'd have something and that it got on our radar. And as we get closer to 2028, we may look at it. Once we develop a plan, we have zero plan. This is just more of a.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So that's.
One thing I'd like just to remember too is when you put money in a reserve, doesn't mean you have to spend it there.
Right.
Right? We're putting it into a specific reserve
Yeah.
for a specific purpose. All it takes is council to say, no, we need this money to
Pay for the fire.
pay for the fire truck.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that you
Yeah.
knew that just because it's in a specific reserve doesn't mean you have to use it there.
Yeah, I just want to keep the conversation alive because that date is going to come quickly.
Mhm.
Oh,
I have one more question or one more on the calendar. This comes up, I know, numerous times. The price continually goes up. And just throwing this out there, our neighbors to the south, they do something similar, but very simple. They have a trifold calendar. It's got all of their information on it as far as leaf pickups, garbage days, everything else. We could add our local information on here to get these printed locally. 2,500 of them would be $1,300. We're spending 7,500. So it's just, I know the calendars, pictures and everything else, but is it really necessary?
The only thing I'll say on the calendar is for 3 years in a row now, I've asked us to add an electronic subscription available option so that we have both the paper and the subscription online model. And if we had gone with that, we might have been able to phase this out because more people might have used it, but I think it's it's a point tradition, been here forever. I think we need to continue it. The nice thing about it is the photographs that are selected often celebrate our community and make people pause and remember what a great place we live in. It's like an advertising thing back to our residents about what a great job we're doing. And, but I would like to see somehow so that these young people can subscribe to it and get all the information without having to look at a paper calendar. So I think we need to make a concerted effort to make that happen this year.
I recommend that we revisit the calendar outside of the budget meeting prior to the next budget meeting. Within the next couple of months and have a full discussion on what it could look like going forward and what those phases.
On the
would-
2026 calendar.
Yes, absolutely, because this calendar has already happened.
Yeah. But this budget now is for the 2026 one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone, if you all would be interested in discussing.
Sure, I'm just looking at other options because not a lot, with younger people today, they don't use calendar.
No, everything's in the phone.
And I'm wondering, is it beneficial? I understand it's great to look at and everything else. Is it beneficial to the community to spend more money than what we need to, especially in these times?
Mary Ann?
That's all.
The calendar is the thing that I hear about probably almost as much as anything. And Jen's in the room, Jen can confirm, we get the most calls. When's calendar coming? When's calendar coming? It's people use it to send to their children that have moved out of town. And I know we don't necessarily need to be funding that, but there's such goodwill that's associated with the calendar. I call it a tradition.
At last year's budget meeting, I recommended that we make the calendars available, but we print less of them as a cost saving in the future. Because people are contacting you and asking when they'll be available, when can we get them? Those are the people who want them, and those people can still get them. They don't even necessarily have to pick them up from the village office. That could be arranged where they're given these calendars. But just for those who are actually interested in them, I don't know what that number would look like. But I'm sure there are a significant number of people who don't use the calendars as well. I do understand the significance of the calendars.
I like the calendar as it is. I like traditions. It's always been part of living here, and it's a very small budget item, and I think it brings a lot of happiness.
It's a quarter. Yeah,
It's
a quarter of a percent.
I do think we need the digital option.
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think there's consensus there that we need to make that a priority for this year.
Just a thought.
Yep.
I know you deliver them door to door. What if you just left them right here in the office and tell the residents come and get them? Then you'll find out how many really want them.
Could also drop them off. We did drop some off at Point Variety once. People picked them up there for a couple of years.
Just, I'm saying, just get them the people that really want them, then you might get a true number for how many you really need.
Yeah,
How do you not know that 100 of them or 200 of them are thrown in the garbage?
Oh, sure more than that. Go
Right?
right to a blue box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so come to the office anytime after this and pick your calendar up.
And, but I would recommend we add like a Point Variety so that if I work Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, I could just pop into the variety store and get one
Yeah.
or the
Just a-
arena,
Just a
have them
thought.
somewhere. I don't know. What's that?
Or the fire hall.
Yeah.
We'd have a few spots.
Sure, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, people would come there too. but I'm
Yeah.
saying-
We had some at the Presbyterian Church for the people to take home.
Anglican church.
And we pay for the delivery right now, do we not?
Yes. I believe we do. I'm sure it's not on volunteer time.
I thought it was students doing volunteer time.
No,
No,
No? Well,
I thought it was
a consideration.
Ellie and her daughter, and I think we could.
and a
invoice for
friend
it.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't think it's much.
Any further questions? Or discussion?
So the online one, we can refer to the task list for finance admin too.
I've got a list here
Okay,
of things
okay.
I'm,
Okay, thank you.
We move to operating.
I just wanted to point,
Operating.
I don't know if you missed or not, or saw, like, there's a couple of ones there, $100,000 for new finance software. So what Jane's using right now is they were taken over by an American company, and the support is it's not bad now. There's one person in the company that offers excellent support, but she is retiring soon, and the software is just becoming quite obsolete.
Yeah, that's right.
So Jane would like to do an evaluation and look at getting some new software. Her estimate is around 200,000. She'd like to put halfway this year, and start an investigation when things get less busy later on in the year. And look into new financial software. So there's 100,000 for that. And then I'll let you speak more to the financial control piece, the 10,000.
Oh, that's the internal control. The idea is right now, the efficiency internal control is really important. And I think we should hire accounting firm or professional accounting, financial services, and to review our current process, make sure our financial reports and our internal kind of anything process is efficient, and then just make sure our, financial operational is smooth and with standards. So that will be kind of cost effective, and also will have a lot of I do believe constructive feedbacks from them to see which area we needed to pay attention to, some either documentation, procedures, or some reviews. So, or kind of overall it's beneficial for the whole our village to provide excellent service to our local community. That's this one. And then at that time we'll share this comments with mayor consultants.
Have a question? Would this include documentation of processes as well?
It's part of it, it's a part of it.
Part of
And
it?
always internal control is
In my previous life, when I was working, we had business controls like crazy, and like it
Right.
seemed like a lot of effort, but it made your life so much simpler
It's
when
right.
you knew you could, here's what we're gonna do always.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it kept you out of the auditor's
That's right, yes.
bad book.
And right now for our accounting auditing fees is pretty high. I think it's extremely high compared to the different size in other municipalities. So I'm just wondering, why is it $10,000? Eventually will save a lot of money from accounting, auditing service.
Yeah, I fully support this.
I just wanted to make sure that you didn't miss those two new things.
Just-
And like, we won't be spending the 100,000 until we let Jane do some research and maybe come back in the fall and say, this is what we want to do, but it would be reported back through finance committee and through council before any of that money was ever spent.
Marianne?
Just a comment, Blue Water Health, and I know they're a much larger facility, they're putting in a new finance system this year. And it's one that's being used in a lot of other hospitals and in the region. I'm gonna get the name of it and I'll pass it to you, just on the off chance that they might be useful in a smaller environment. Because they've already done the research on it.
If I could just, when we do, could we expand the search to look at payroll software?
I think so.
It's a really good comment.
Okay.
Right now, it's really cost effective for the current software. It's really, really cheap. But now we're looking for this software is eventually we're looking for have a budgeting module and a payroll module, and become a real ERP system.
Okay.
So that's kind of the data will be as a user, we can download, the user can run this report easily and efficiently. Right now, just different data resources from different places, and then it's time consuming to compile and to reconcile. So that's the kind of efficient one we're looking for is the key modules we're looking for is payroll and budget transfer.
And would this payroll module allow for time tracking, like
Yes, that's.
via people's phones or whatever, like they'd be able to put their hours and overtime right on the app and everything?
That's the time cards need to be included. This is kind of essential, right?
Yes.
The payroll is based on the,
Yes,
the hours and the wages there.
okay. Okay, perfect.
A question about the computer upgrade. Are they looking to put another physical server on site, or are they looking to go cloud-based?
I believe it's another physical server on site.
Are they exploring cloud-based options?
I don't believe so. No, I'm pretty sure it's just an on-site.
And how's the backup managed? Is it offsite?
Is that is that a cheaper option, Claudio, to look at cloud
For
stuff?
an enterprise this size, cloud-based is usually a better option,
Yeah.
more secure.
Okay, I will certainly ask them about it.
Yeah, I mean.
And then,
Yours is
and then rather than pay a 6-figure upgrade, you would pay a monthly fee and they do the upgrades when they're necessary, like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all done.
like, yeah,
So just a cloud-based server versus a physical,
Yeah.
okay.
Not sure what the server is providing for us, if it's just data storage, like a OneDrive. You can't ransomware a cloud-based account versus you can ransomware a server in the basement, so there's other security
Okay,
protocols that go around that too.
It's
Great.
about emergency management perspective.
yeah.
In past life, I looked at things in there.
thank you.
Sorry, Claudio, in your past life, it was a cloud server, right?
Someone were, yeah, close someone.
My past life. Actually lived in it.
So. Funding.
Okay. Yeah, grants would be a good time to look at that, at the grants now.
Okay.
Because that's part of capital. If there is no other questions, that is on regular capital.
I think it's the very last page in the binder. You're welcome.
I would watch that last.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a conflict for the very first one. Let's take over.
I'll take them.
All right. You have the same.
Bridging School.
Does that have a page number?
It's the very last page of the binder,
Yeah.
but you're not a binder.
Well, I've printed mine all off, right? So I ended up mixing up my pages, so I'm just trying to go by a page number.
I propose Bridgeview get $10,000 again.
Yeah, good with that. I just have one issue with this. We created a grant application process and they did not complete the document. What their cover page was very informational and all that, but why are we, why did we create a process and people aren't gonna work within it? That's one of my issues.
I agree with that, and other municipalities are very, very strict on that. If you don't use the document or you miss a field,
Or you miss a date,
yeah.
I think maybe we should become a little more firm on this when the applications come in, turn them around if, like for $10,000, it's because, for instance, there was one few down the road for 2,000 and they've completed the whole thing, so.
So I'd like to recommend that when we issue the checks this year, that there be a letter from Jim or Jane reminding them of our process and that moving forward, we will expect a more full compliance to our process. Is that fair?
Deputy Mayor Grimes, I was gonna propose a similar idea to what you were just saying, but given that we're changing our whole timing, it
Yeah.
would be a chance to reach out and say, we're moving to this timing for budget. And
Yeah.
this is the date for whatever to be submitted. And if it's not submitted, then, you might lose out, but it's a good time to be putting out a total message.
Because our current deadline is November 15th, which will be way too late. So we'll have to be looking at these in August probably so the sooner we send them a letter and I think the ones who didn't comply, to build on Councillor Mondu's note, we should be in the letter say, council granted you your request. However, you did not follow our process, and for 2026, there will need to be compliance. You can come back, Councillor Noctor.
Sure. Blue Coast Primary Care Recruitment. We approved 2,100 in 2024. This year they're asking for 31,50.
I support that.
Just a question, why did it go up? It was usually $1 per resident.
In their letter, they asked to increase it to $1.50.
Okay.
Because they're spending more.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to put money.
I just have I have a question. So Sarnia committed to, I believe, they committed to fund them for 3 years. So they wouldn't come back every year.
That's right.
So does that mean that Sarnia's funding at $1 and we're asked to fund at $1.50?
Sarnia is a little higher than, I think it's $80,000. So it's $1.20.
Pardon?
Sarnia is $80,000 for.
Right, that's based on their population.
Right.
So they're paying $1.
She's saying a little over $1, about $1.20.
Right, and we're asked to pay $1.50. I mean, it's like, we're small, it's not that much additional, but it's not the same funding.
Do you have a recommendation?
I just wanted to point that out as a discrepancy because it feels concerning to me.
No, I say yes.
No issue with that. Yes.
Alright.
We all need doctors.
Yes, we're pretty good. This is a challenge. Okay, Inn of the Good Shepherd did not make a request this year.
Correct.
The Ramsden County Farmers Association requested the same 500 that they requested previously.
Correct.
I'm okay with those.
Okay. Lincoln Farm Safety, 200.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Pathways, Secret Santa, same value as last year, 2,000.
No issue for me.
And Point Edward Minor at 22.5.
There again, a local organization that didn't complete the form. There was no form included with that. There was a nice letter, there was a video sent, but no form. So, this has happened before.
There was a previous discussion.
Well, we had a previous discussion about what we're gonna do about that in the future.
What is that?
That is in the fall, when we do our budget, before we do budget, we'll send a notice out that the applications we do, and also notify the ones that did not send the application form. So that we're making that a criteria for next year.
So
Now, in reading, in reading PIMAs, they address almost everything that's in our grant. They didn't use the actual form,
exactly.
but they do have way more detail than Bridgeview had or other organizations. So I think, yeah, they didn't use our template. But I think the content is there and addresses the intent of our application form. So
And I could add, they were very innovative in going outside the box, so to speak, of not the form, but the video. And that, I'm sure that took a lot of effort and I appreciated it. I'm not going to be hung up over the form. Again, we can reiterate what we want next year when we send everybody out the information.
So I was gonna say, when I give these people a deadline of October 1st. And they don't meet it and they don't use the form, they're done. Like, I'm not gonna bring it to council.
Well, no, I think it should be, I think we should get to come to council, but it should say, there should be a category. Application submitted on time and complete. That group is group one. Next group is they missed the deadline, and then group three would be didn't use the documentation. And then we can then decide from there.
Okay.
But I think we should know who's applied but didn't do it right, just so that we're in the know. But and then we
Okay.
should focus on those people that did comply, and then we can decide if we're going to send a message out to the
All right.
applicants. Is that fair?
That's fine with me. I just wanna know what I'm telling people.
Yeah.
I just think there's a couple of groups within our borders, like Bridgeview School and Point Edward Minor, that we should reach out to if we think there's an issue. This is groups that are close to our heart.
Yes.
Help our community, so if there's a technicality, I wouldn't want to see the door slammed in their face.
Yeah.
And I'm fine.
Like if it's someone brand new, we don't hear from them, they come in late. But like I said, these two groups are, they're part of our community.
Yeah.
So we should take that into consideration as well. I know we're supposed to be cold and there's no common sense in the law and whatever else, but I think we have to use some heart and
Good.
judgment
Yeah.
on this.
Thank you. Age Friendly Expo. They have asked for an increase in amount this year.
And what was the basis of their increase? They more hours? We just give them the arena rental, don't we?
Rates.
Yeah. That's the rate.
The arena rate change?
The daily rate went from 1,000 a day to 1,200 a day.
Okay,
And then they pay for 5 hours on the tear down day, so
okay.
there's an increase of $5 per hour.
So this was not really money out of our pocket. It's
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's revenue in on the arena side
Yeah.
and it's expense on
Yeah.
this side.
Yeah.
It's in and out.
All right, on to sponsorship. Blue Water Anglers Salmon, they're asking for 7,500. You would like to discuss that point? Nope.
Previous to last year, it was 5,000, right?
Yeah.
And then they asked for a increase to 75.
Yeah.
Plus now 500 for the walleye, so it's 8,000 for the same organization.
That's been around for a while. There was, for some reason, there were actually 3 different requests on there from the Blue Water Anglers. And the walleye is the correct term for it. For some reason, it was there as another name. And that's what I put it under. So anyway, they've been getting that other $500 for a few years.
So we're not ones that judge the organization or the amount of a prize needed to attract fishermen to go out and catch fish, but 7,500, we made a huge leap there. I don't know why we did it. Because it's a 50% increase in what we give to them. It just seems like a lot of money to go out fishing for the day and catch the biggest fish, but
Just to comment on that,
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons we did it was because it's not tax money.
okay.
I would be honest, I think that's the reason. It wasn't really an impact to our budget as such.
But I also
And-
think as Councilor just said, I'll just be quicker. Blue Water Anglers are part of our waterfront park experience. They're a big part of the community. They support the fish and wildlife out there, and they're one of those sort of anchor organizations within the community.
And volunteer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, all that money goes to. Yeah.
And since it's MAT tax, I think it's an excellent way to support our community and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do appreciate it. They always speak so highly of what we do.
Yeah.
And how we support them. They do speak highly of us. They're very appreciative.
Good.
So I think we can go on to the walleye in that one. Blue Water International Grand Fondo, asking for the same amount.
I'm okay with all of them,
Okay,
just to let you know.
is there anyone who's not okay with one, the remaining sponsorship?
Yep.
And what would that be?
I think we can either maintain the Celebration of Lights amount or even reduce it to 5,000. Is my personal opinion, and I think we may want to consider opting under Rib Fest. I don't think we get a good return on our investment with that one as far as bringing tourists to our community or even frequenting the hotels. The Rib Fest doesn't really drive. And I said to Jim earlier, if we had a strategic plan on what we want to do with our donation money, it would drive some of these decisions. Is our sponsorship supposed to drive tourism to the community and hotel stays, or is it to help charities? Like, we don't have a real mandate of what this money is supposed to be doing. I think the Rib Fest is very localized, and I just don't think we get the exposure or the bang for the buck with it. And then Celebration of Lights, I know they're struggling as far as infrastructure in the park and all that stuff, but it's another one where I think we could just support it, but it's not really part of our community as well. So,
Well, I go back to the money from the casino where we're supposed to spend beyond ourselves to
Yeah.
support community activities, and that's when I align that to.
okay. That Rib Fest or Celebration of Lights or both?
No, Celebration of Lights.
Okay,
Rib Fest, I would be okay with even lowering it the amount and using it for someone else or whatever the group decides.
and that's where I'm at, Bev, is that, yeah, or Mayor Hand. I'd like to see
Yeah.
us try and find some new groups or organizations that we can help out, like put the word out, or Jay wants to be sponsored.
And that could be still part of that plan for communications.
Yeah.
In the summer, or July, August, whenever we do it. We could go beyond our regular donors, a regular request.
Well, I just look at something like hospice, the good work they do there, and, you know, there's always a local connection.
Mhm.
And some of the other, like, we're already supporting the Kinsmen with the Santa Claus Parade,
Mhm.
so I'm okay with dropping Rib Fest.
Okay.
But if there are other charitable organizations outside of the village that we can support that are working hard and doing good work.
So Rib Fest, is there consensus on Rib Fest then? Okay, and then what about
We're gonna
Celebration?
drop Rib Fest
Yeah.
completely, okay?
Okay.
Just to comment on that, I'm thinking that something that would bring people into the community.
Mhm.
And as you're saying, that's more or less local. Sure, the vendors come in from outside, but I don't know how many people travel with them. Whereas, you know, the Santa Claus Parade, they bring families in from out of town, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
The Grand Fondo we know is huge,
Mhm.
the impact on the community.
Yeah.
And point out in general, like with night tax and stuff, so.
And the Grand Fondo is unique to our community, like in this area compared to a Rib Fest. The Rib Fest is the traveling road show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
And
I like how the Grand Fondo, I've told you this before, I've said this before, but their training is so unique because the money that they raise goes to facilitate training of people involved in palliative care, not a facility.
Right.
So would be open to move that Rib Fest money up to Grand Fondo?
Well,
Just saying, if there's nobody else on the list.
Well,
I have one on the list,
yeah,
actually.
but they didn't ask for more, so I don't
No.
think we should be
Yeah.
proactively chasing them down to give them more. And I think if we keep that money around, Jim says we have money, and if new groups come in, then we'll address them as they can.
Just Grand
Okay.
Fondo is the number one Grand Fondo, it's the number one in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like fourth in the world or something.
Yeah.
It's really high, very, very high profile.
So what
So
do you
I-
want to do? Oh, go ahead.
I have two. So I have
Yeah.
two things that just happened. So one of the things was, oh geez, I'm drawing a blank on her name. She wanted to come and do the presentation, and I told her like we
Heather?
had all no starts with a K. You know that lady that's involved with Grand Fondo. Anyway, she told me about 2 weeks ago that two organizations that support the slow roll dropped out. And could we give something? And I said, well, we're going to budget on our other stuff, but I was thinking maybe I could give her a check out of the smaller check out of the mayor's account. So I asked her just for one example, like, so what are your costs? The OPP cost is $1,200 that they have to pay for those OPP to, and the reason the slow roll ended up in Point Edward at the brewery last year. So we had a large part of it and part of the route. So I wanted to support them, but I was thinking I'd take it out of, like, give her a smaller check, but we may want to consider giving something towards it since we canceled one of the other donations. And the second one, and I don't have a lot of information on it yet, but there's Indwell's coming to town. They're making a contract to firm up a commitment in this area, and they're having an event. And Heather Martin sent me a request for some support, financial support towards this kickoff event. So for supportive housing.
So the big role I can support because it goes right all
Well,
through.
that's what I thought. We're so connected to that.
Yeah, and a lot of activity came back to the Light Street area. So
Yeah.
I think $1,500 to sponsor the slow roll, I think would be.
And that would more than cover their OPP costs. Because
Yeah.
I was thinking it was nice to take one item
Yeah.
that we knew that they had. And, like, they're just suffering because two that had committed just dropped out of funding. So that would be appreciated.
I can support that as well.
Okay, and we never decided about Celebration of Lights, what we wanted to do.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm good with dropping that back to what we gave them last year.
I agree.
60.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Because there was no real compelling reason why they, like, if they said they were doing X, Y, or Z to move up that, then maybe, but there was
Yeah.
no real. Okay,
Well, a couple times in the last 2 years, the gentleman that's running that program said he wanted to talk to Point Edward, that they wanted to extend it, and he never followed up. I think he
Okay.
mentioned it to you, Greg. You
Yes.
attended the
Yeah.
kickoff one night for me at the appreciation night.
Yeah.
And he said it to me again, and I never heard from him.
so you got those changes then? 1.5 for slow roll. Celebration Lights changed to 6,500.
So we're reducing that overall by 2,500 on the sponsorship side.
Yep.
Which won't change the budget
No,
because that comes out of
Matt,
tax, but it'll put $2,500 more into the
playground.
playground reserve. And so I'm going to bring up another issue. We've got 41,005 in requests now, basically approved requests. And in the general ledger, we only budgeted 35,000 there. So we need to add another 6112. And
What caused that big jump?
Yeah, I don't get
There's
that.
no big jump.
We didn't budget enough?
I'm not exactly sure why we got 35,000 put into the general ledger.
Okay,
There were 41,000 in requests, so we need another 6,512 to.
Now, is that taking MAT tax money?
No, that generally just comes out of casino. Like, it's just a general regular. Now, there is a reserve of about a $45,000 reserve for capital donations, so we could
I'd take it out of there.
Yeah, 41,646.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that won't affect the budget either. There'll be, we'll have to adjust the general ledger to reflect the 41,512. And so that'll be a higher expense, and then we'll add in 6,512 of revenue. Yeah. Reduction of 1,500, 1,500 for slow roll, and a reduction of 2,500 for rib fest. Now, One thing I just want to clarify, the people that are asking for sponsorships do not have to fill out all the paperwork for a grant, right? It's two separate processes.
There's a sponsorship, the other's a grant.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
just
we
want to make
decided.
sure that council's okay with that. Like,
Yeah, I see I get it, because like, they're almost the same thing.
they're similar.
Like Blue Water Anglers are asking for money to support a program or initiative in their organization. No different than, and then and the bigger question becomes, are we gonna make the Lambton County Plowman Association do a
Probably won't do it.
5-page document to get $500? I don't think they're gonna do it, you know?
No, the agricultural one for 200.
Yeah, so the farm
Do we
safety,
put a minimum on it?
Yeah.
Or a minimum requirement, anything under this you don't need to, anything over this you need to?
anything over 12,000, you have to do the full grant application. Anything under that,
10,000?
will give you a simple letter.
Maybe they'll stuff for us.
Yeah, ask for $9,999. Well, I think what we should put it on the finance and admin task list to review the entire process.
A committee. Yeah, make recommendations.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
on the Indwell. On the Indwell one, then. I could just give something out of the, like, give a check to support. Out of the mayor's account. If everyone's okay. The event's gonna be at the 4 Points.
Is this a fundraising event or an information day?
No, they're coming to town, they're signing a contract, it's
Oh, yeah.
a welcoming,
Yeah.
and they've
Yeah, no, I
actually
heard-
now, she's actually asked if she could bring them into the office just to say hello.
Yeah, they're doing 2 screenings of a video, I understand.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, as part of the launch announcement, yeah.
okay.
And they're
That's
doing 2
probably
shows.
the,
Yeah.
it's probably the one they used at the library event when they brought Indwell first, but
Yes,
Now
I think that's, yeah,
they're moving forward with the commitment, so it's kind of
yeah,
big news.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll handle it the other way, if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
We don't have a rolling number though, do we? Of where we're at with percent increase.
We got it.
Not on mine.
It's money to do that.
You're still at how much for the fire truck? Right, Jim, we don't have a new number percent increase.
Oh, from what we've,
We Get it pretty quick.
Okay,
So
from what we've done,
We're not done though.
Yeah, there's all our operating still to go
Okay.
through, or you want a number before we,
no, not really, that's all good.
she'd have for you probably in about.
2 minutes.
Might be good to have before we go in.
I think it'd be useful.
We can backtrack.
Yeah.
The next change.
In operating,
This is general government, right? Is that the next?
3.98.
2.98.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and then there's $61,000 increase in capital that we have to
Figure out.
fund somewhere.
Not funding.
$61,000 in capital. Is it 61 or
Because
66?
61.
Okay. Oh, yes, I forgot we reduced the fire hall.
Operating reduce 16. Capital increase 60.
Good. So Greg, we're down to 3.98
Okay,
and we are up by 61,000 on capital.
so does that affect the?
That does not affect, well, it can affect the tax rate if you want it to. You can increase the tax rate by another 2% to get that capital money,
Oh,
or you can take it out of
reserve.
a reserve or, there's.
Okay.
You can do lots, there's a few options.
3.90, that's the kind of number I like to.
And they're poor.
Yeah, not poor.
Yeah, fire's bad, whoever's not here pays.
Well, he just pulled in, he must have heard that.
So yeah, then there's all the operating stuff like office and council and
All right, let's get that.
police and all that kind of stuff. So there's still lots to
I think the first section,
review at least.
if we're going in order, would be municipal office, right?
And we haven't looked at revenue yet, so. So yeah, a governance act, well, you might have. Mine's in a different order than yours, so. We'll go by the order on yours.
So municipal office is like
Okay,
ahead. Like, we're looking at animal control would be the first one.
I'm sorry, I had to take a bio break. Did you get that number just before we get moving?
3.98.
Oh, yay, okay. Let's blow that 1.4 barrier. Thank you.
So we're in the municipal office, right? Is that where we are? And we're gonna do,
We've done the capital.
we've done the capital,
So,
so operating. So I'll throw this one out there, dog tags,
Get rid of them.
that's all. Is it time to do away with dog tags in the village of Quinn Edward? It's a lot of work for staff, it's a lot of work for us, it's, we have to order tags. Give receipts, do we enforce it? No. Are there people that have dogs who don't have tags? Yes. So why are we going through now? Why are we going through this exercise? I see that the revenue for dog, the expense is 250. What's the revenue on dog tags? 2,000. What's everyone's thoughts?
I don't have a dog, but other communities, I read of one recently, I think it was down near Windsor, maybe Essex.
Mhm.
If anybody else saw that, they eliminated dog tags for the very reason of it wasn't worth the amount of effort to generate.
County that don't have them.
Yeah,
Okay, I've got a question. So what if you have a dog, like you pick a dog up, how do you in fact then
well, most dogs
put a
now,
fine or something on that, or you gotta, what do you call it, a dangerous dog? Like, how do you deal
Yeah,
with that?
that doesn't go away.
No,
Right,
it's still
like-
there?
It might be a little more difficult to identify who the owner is, but I mean, that doesn't stop you from going out and catching a stray dog, taking it to the Humane Society, and it's
a majority of dogs now are microchipped, so the Humane Society can get the information with their wand. Secondly, responsible dog owners typically put a tag of their own on that say the dog's name and the phone number of the owner. A lot of people do that, so I think
So it's just mainly an administrative exercise, not to have to deal with it. We still have all the other controls in place
Yep.
that are necessary.
there are some things that it's handy for, like if, but it doesn't happen very often where somebody calls here, oh, I've got this dog and it's tag number, blah, blah, blah. But it's not.
You have no control over how many dogs in the household, that kind of type of thing.
We still have a bylaw that controls the number of dogs. They just don't have to be licensed.
and a person that has 6 dogs is not gonna come in and try to order 6 dog
Right.
tags.
No, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking
Yeah,
at.
no, all the other regulations still stay in place.
Okay.
We had a dangerous dog issue recently, I thought, maybe within the last number of months. And I don't think that dog was licensed, but it was still dealt with.
Mhm.
Where there were complaints from neighbors and people walking down the street, so that situation was handled, I think, by the OPP.
So yeah, like it's just. I don't know, I mean, you're still required to keep your dog on your property, you're still. if your dog bites somebody, is still, everything is still there. It's just,
That might be-
just not doing the license piece of it anymore.
And Paul, that it's, I don't know, that incident, I don't know if it's the same one or not, but Property Standards investigated the concern about the dog. So Kelly went and made a home visit over a dog. So you still have those resources.
Well, that'll be a negative impact because we're gonna lose $2,000 in revenue.
Yep.
With $250 in expenses. One could argue, though, that we'll make up for that in efficiency in the office because they won't be wasting time on dog tags and issuing receipts and all that stuff. So are we? Okay with
And
that?
we're fine for this year because we've already got the revenue, like we've probably already got.
Yeah,
But you're right, next year, it's not gonna affect, we can make the change.
Yeah.
We're not gonna change it for this year.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Sometimes it takes me a while to get there.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
2026, at some point, we'll let people know there'll be no more dog taking. And then the Humane Society, 71400020. We're budgeting 4,500, same as last year, but it shows the actual is $1,700 or $1,600.
Yeah, I'm not, let me just look that one up.
I declared a conflict, I own a dog.
You said 71400020? Cause that's a contract
Right,
and we paid $4,645. Like
Okay.
we paid exactly
okay.
I think we pay it before budget day. if I
The
remember
actual for
correctly.
2024 said 1645.
That's weird.
Okay, but if we-
1645 or
Yep.
4645?
16. You're showing 40,
On the computer, it's 4645.
but it's the typo. Okay, perfect.
So, you know what? Somebody was probably typing in numbers and
Mhm.
has a fat finger and hit the wrong button. That was me, not you.
So, you can put that on the task list then? For discussion about doing removal of dog tags for 2026?
I think it should come to council, all that stuff.
And-
Because it makes no
Yeah.
difference in the budget. So
No.
to go through finance and admin and then come as a council motion.
That's fine. Any other accounts in?
Tax adjustments,
Mhm.
this past year, or $48,000 and we're budgeting 10, like, that's an abnormality. Do we see any more stuff like that happening?
I
Please.
wish we don't, because this is the casino property supplementary, the reassessment,
Yes.
that's out of our village control, right? That's, it's that.
So we don't know of any other properties?
No, so
in the
far,
village
haven't seen any appeal, pending appeal right
Okay.
now.
Because I know we've lost a lot of money on that in the last number of years.
That's right.
Okay, with the deal. Thank you.
Good point.
Question on the other income revenue for government, for general government again, with that 16,000 last year, and we're looking at 55 this year. So what, I'm just curious, what would be other income that it'd be a one-off, would it not? I'm thinking. You know?
What's the account number, Tim?
6,500,060. Not very often we get more money than what we think we're gonna get.
Arrears. Some money we got back for something to do with the calendar. It's all like, oh, this is, I might be looking at 2025 though. I am. So a reason for an increase is we now, every arrears notice we send out gets an additional $5 charge.
Yes.
Every property change gets an additional $30 charge. So there's some new fees that have been implemented.
Yep.
That are, yeah.
No, that's fair.
that are,
We'd like to see that. Thank you, Jane.
Mhm. Cover some cost. That's.
In here, but I'm not sure. Have we ever considered having fees for our fields and diamonds?
it was talked about last year, but it didn't get, we, I think we got back to the point of what, looking into what some other communities do.
Yeah,
We didn't get much beyond that.
just as a source of revenue, especially for the ball diamond, the soccer field. And we do let people reserve that. It does cost us money to tend field, chalk and everything. Every other municipality charges for it. I was just looking through fee structures of other places, just for my own business, to see how much everybody charges for ice rentals, and everybody's got a fee for ball diamonds, and we should consider that as a revenue source. I don't know if we can do it to this budget, but just.
Yeah, I think it's
something that's untapped.
I can bring some funding together.
Yeah, like I said, just for example, Warwick Township, they have a very detailed fee structure for everything from their hall rentals, ice rentals, ball diamonds, anything that you would think that you would use, like a birthday room above the arena. They have everything in there. And I was looking at their ball diamond rentals and soccer fields, and that would be a source of income.
I think when we talked about it last, great idea for the ball diamond, but how do we control whether somebody paid or not? We don't have an employee who's in enforcement to go drive to you see two teams playing. How do we go make sure they've paid their permit fee? That's the only risk. And our ball diamond forever has been free to use, right? So it'd be tough to, I guess you could put up some signage and say, use of this ball diamond requires a permit, and here's how to get one, I guess.
Well, it's an insurance issue as well.
Yeah.
Right?
At least the leagues get leagues to pay, like that.
Yeah.
I know when I played for the Point Blank, you had to pay at Clearwater.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, at least start with the leagues and get
Get
them.
the leagues to pay if they're gonna use it and have a designated time,
Yeah.
6 to 8 on Tuesday night, and maybe they should have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But maybe other soccer organizations look at Point Edward's schedule and say, that field looks like it's available all day Saturday. I could run practices there and I could reserve it and put my dollar down and use our waterfront soccer field. We could probably get more users with it. But the ball diamond, I think, would be relatively easy because it's already pretty booked through the year. And if someone wants a free diamond, go to Bridgeview School, like, or, a place like that where you can just have an open field. Because we do have public works employees, we have summer students that shut the water off at the splash pad. I think if they're in a vehicle, they could go by, and I think it's time that we do look at that, especially as a revenue source.
Marianne.
Want some help?
So Pima runs the soccer league down onto the bridge. There's soccer every night of the week. And then we're giving them money to support Pima. So would we turn around and then charge them for using the soccer diamonds?
I see it the same as ice rental. It's user pay.
But we're giving the money to support their
That doesn't matter.
activity.
That's irrelevant. where they're still renting ice. It's the same thing with all the recreational leagues that use the ball diamond.
I think we could just possibly see them increase their ask next year to cover that if they knew that was coming.
Sure, but for
Right.
me as a parent who signs my kid up for something, I know it's gonna cost me money.
Yeah.
So I pay it. Like, if my kid plays soccer in Sarnia, it costs more because they pay rentals.
Mhm.
So,
So again, I don't think we should try to make that
Yeah.
decision today.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to look into
Refer to
facility,
committee.
like
Yeah.
facility rentals or park use rentals, but
talk
I
about
don't,
that in
debate
April
it.
committee then.
that's another day. Sorry, yeah. Fees for park rentals,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, yeah.
No, years ago, there's something
I've got, it's under license and permits, property standards recovery. Last year
Mhm.
we budgeted $20,000, we brought in 0 income. This year we're at 10. I thought we put a process in, or we have a process in place to recover from our property standards.
We do have it in place. There wasn't as much property standard issues. I don't think there was as much last year. For the most, our policy has kind of always been, as long as you deal with it in the first, if there's a
visit?
call out and it's dealt with, fine. There has been a couple circumstances where we could bill and we just haven't done it. So I hope we can get around to doing that. So, but I do think 20,000 would be,
Cause that's expected revenue, right?
Yeah.
We're counting on that and we're always looking for revenue, so if there is a process in place, if we could start using it, that'd be wonderful.
Mary Ann, do you have your hand up? It's the little hand in the corner of the screen.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hand down. But some of those property standards, they don't they don't incur a cost back to us. Is that not the difference? Like, if we have to go in and cut somebody's grass, and it goes on their taxes, is that what you're talking about?
well, it depends. Like there could be, if it's multiple visits from
No,
Kelly,
that's,
get
yeah.
something dealt with and
sorry.
like we might not have, it might just be county costs, but it could be, like you said too, somebody might not cut the grass and we hire a contractor to go in and do it.
Mhm.
We always bill that kind of stuff. This would be more for county time.
Yes.
If there are outside contractors involved, we've always billed that back. Always.
Okay.
A few years ago, we had a discussion, a few of us about, if complaints were made or unfounded by the county. Could you, like, they don't bill, could they bill that to the complaint? Because involved in my own property where there's been a complaint by a neighbor and it was found unfounded. I got a bill from Petrolia, and I went to the town and they ended up waiving the bill, but they were expecting me to pay for something that wasn't actually a valid complaint. Could we bill that for maybe an option to get some revenue if you're making complaints that are unfounded?
It's a possibility.
Just something you want to look at in the future. Meeting.
Municipal office travel and meals, we saw an increase of 75% for this budget. Sort of.
75%.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
reason for that.
there hasn't been, like, I haven't gone to a conference for years. Since COVID, I haven't
Sure.
been done anything outside. Just kind of picking back up on things that should have been done over time.
Okay, so there's like, you know what these expenses are going towards already, so it's a real.
Yeah, like
number.
Jennifer's going to some training down in Windsor. At one time, I'm going to the conference in Ottawa. I mean, I don't know Jane going anywhere, but there's usually a MFOA.
That's right. I know.
Municipal Financiers Group, so. And Shelley sometimes goes to a health and safety. Now that one might get charged to a health and safety budget, but yeah, it's not, we don't. I haven't sat down and said $7,500 is the number that we're gonna spend. I haven't done those calculate 3,500?
$3,500. 75% increase, so it's, and, yeah, from 2,000 to 35.
Okay, so actually my conference is in a different, but just because things seem to be opening up a little bit more and there are more training possibilities, like Mike and Jennifer are going to a report writing seminar and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the conference won't be going in that budget line anyway, so forget I said that. It's a different budget line.
Why is that one a different budget line?
It's, let me just find it here.
Some of those other ones you mentioned.
Yeah.
were Conferences. as well.
Training and conferences went from, like, it's been 7,000 all along. It was 7,000 last year, we only used 4. But I didn't go any, that's where my conference would go. So the budget line you're talking about is, oh,
0030. And 70.
Yeah.
Because some of the other examples you gave for are also training and conference.
mhm.
Just remind the current chart of accounts, the setup, it's not very. Need to be reviewed and to ensure to be consistent, and I can tell some they are set up different, even though for the different departments, so that's kind of the project we're going to do. After audit is done, make sure the structure is consistent and easy to compare.
Travel and, okay, so I've got the right line here though now, 701, yeah, just, just anticipated. Like, nothing planned, but we're over budget last year and, yeah,
That's-
just, Yeah.
So nothing planned,
right,
but
it's just kind of incidental stuff that happens.
I mean, you went over budget by 10%.
Right, not by, you're right.
Not 75%.
Yeah, if you want to knock it down,
The budget's.
$500 or $1,000, that's fine.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, so why, if it went over by like 10%, why are we increasing it by 75% for next year?
I think he gave it up, so.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, I mean,
AMO last year, right?
no, but AIM will
But
go
that's not included,
elsewhere.
that's the line, that's. I'm not saying it shouldn't increase, but
Well, he's saying, okay, to reduce it, so what
whatever,
do you
I
want to
mean-
reduce it to?
3,000.
Yeah, that's fine. Where's my red pen?
Two.
Reduced by 500 to 3,000.
We did all that for $500?
Do you have an alternate suggestion?
Just leave it at 3,500 and move along.
So we're reducing line 70100030 by $500.
Does anybody have any other items?
One, on, revenue. For pending interest on taxes, we were almost at 60,000 last year, the budget was 42. So this year it's at 49, so are we expecting less interest on taxes? So that would mean we have less arrears on taxes?
That's what we're hoping for. Jane has done a lot of work on making it very clear to people that their taxes are overdue. Sending the regular notices, but like highlighting the amount
Yes.
they're all, so we're hoping, and we've been getting people in that are, so that's the hope.
Great, thank
is
you.
to
Yeah.
have the bird in the hand instead of 2 in the bush.
Absolutely, I'd rather have it in our pocket than interest. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mary Ann? Nope.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Okay. We can move on then, yes. To,
So I think we've covered everything. We will be at 3.97%.
I have two items that we didn't touch on.
Okay,
Number one is the police telephone. At the police service board meeting, we were told that they've switched to VoIP. So I'm wondering if we can take that $6,200 budget amount down to 2,000, because it sounds like we'll only be paying for 1/4 of their phone bill. Is that fair?
I think that's reasonable, yeah.
Okay, so from 6,200 to 2,000 for 7110-0100, please telephone.
So we're subtracting $4,200.
Yeah. And then my other one, which unfortunately may negate that, is the Conservation Authority. The 2024 actual was $38,003. And then we budgeted 35,062, yet the Conservation Authority has rarely ever reduced the amount they charge us.
So they've sent us a bill. We've already
Paid
paid
it?
that bill, I think.
That most likely
Is there not an extra $3,000 fee that
Yeah.
we committed to
for
on that
like
last
for
year?
programs.
Yeah.
What's
Oh, that was for the bursaries.
No,
No, for
No.
programs.
Okay,
We're committed for so long on that, I thought.
what's the account number, Greg?
7120-0001. Now, oh yeah, here it is. It's the line below it. It's the source protection SP MIF. And it's empty right now. So I think that's where we're missing the $3,000 variance.
Whatever, it was a 3,000 something.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's 7120. Oh,
1 and 0003.
Three.
that's weird.
So the money in 003 is not there, but
Doesn't, 003 doesn't even show up in here.
Oh,
0003.
it's 2024.
It's just general accounts in general, right?
Okay.
So 7120, 001 is right there. And there is no 003. Maybe if I
Not
need to,
never. Oh, in tab.
So I have the draft budget book here.
that's weird.
What is
I
it?
agree with you though. There is an extra fee there that
What is it?
7120. Yeah. 003, yeah. How come that account's not sure? Okay, anyway, so you want to put that 4,200 back into the,
Well, not all 42. I think it's only like. I have the budget. Oh, here's the budget. So for this year, the levy is 35,062. And then the programs are 3819. And it's called tree planting, stewardship, and education programs. So it can all be one line item. The total amount is 38,881. Right, it can just be one line item, right? Conservation Authority.
so can we just add the $4,200 to make the math simple? Does it really matter?
Okay, yeah,
$200. I mean,
yep, that's fine.
so just the 4,200 that came out of, yeah,
Or you could just leave it in the phone, because the phone may be more than $2,000. Make the phone 2,400 and make
So that's right off.
whatever you want.
That'll be easy one. Clean.
yeah.
Yes.
We subtracted 4,200 from the telephone.
But it didn't last long.
And then your 2941, what's that for? That's how much, okay, 29, I guess 2941 is the number, so.
No, 3819. So the general levy is 35,062, which you have in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we forgot to add is the 3819 for the programs,
Okay,
which can either go into that second line item or we all capture together, whatever you prefer. It does get billed out as a different line because it's the general, like out of the general levy. You get that, Jen? Okay. So
so we're gonna add 3819
Mhm.
to budget line 71200001. We're gonna add 3819.
for an overall total of 38,881.
Oh, the account number. 7110. 7110. 0100. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think if there's anything else. I don't know.
Again, does anyone else have any other items that they want to discuss, line items? No?
Just call one thing.
Mhm.
This building, maintenance and general surprise, $17,000. Does that include cleaning? Because we were looking at a huge cleaning bill on that small space. Wondering if that's changed any at all?
I would say that probably does include cleaning, but let me look.
That was a big number.
It's a lot of money for that little space, yeah.
For our own space.
I'd do it for 15.
Floor mats, cleaning supplies. Probably a refrigerator. Because we had to buy them a fridge last year, we had to put it somewhere. Yeah, most of it is related to cleaning.
I know
Um,
we're gonna look into the cleaning cost for that building. Last year.
Inspections of fire extinguishers, I think.
I was just wondering.
So what do you like? What
was
I remember a bit of a discussion
It
about
should be
cleaning,
lower than that because we were gonna check into the cleaning costs.
cleaning frequency. We're going to talk about
Yeah,
frequency.
frequency and.
Okay, I can look into that.
What are we on to next?
So we're at 3.95% on the tax rate, and we've got $61,000 difference in capital, and that's 5756 on Venetian. It's 5,000 more on each of Jay's wet wells, and then a $5,000 reduction on the facade work at the fire hall.
So we have to find 61,000 somewhere, or else go to 5.95.
Yeah, you could add 2% to the tax rate to
I
to
missed
generate
what the
money to
total
cover that.
was. Sorry,
Which total, Bev?
you just said what the new tax total is?
3.95.
3.95.
We're short $61,000 in capital. And $31,000 represents 1%. So we either go to 5.95 and be balanced. Or we take some money out of reserves, right, is what we could do.
Mhm.
Or,
Or share.
Or a combination of both.
yeah, or the Venetian crosswalk, could that not be funded with the St. Clair Street debenture?
I like that idea. I don't want to go to 5.
So, like, because the Michigan Ave crosswalks, are they not part of the St. Clair Street funding, or are we paying for that this year?
It's where's that sheet?
Because we could argue St. Clair Light Street plus all the crosswalks is one big project for community safety.
Or it's a common purpose.
Yeah. And then that would mean we don't have to find 5,000, which we could find easy. Whether it's debenture reserves, wherever all that money, but just roll it into the St. Clair Light Street project as just as
Yeah.
part of it.
We can do that, but it still has to be funded, right? Like it's
But that'd be through debenture. At the end of the day, whatever you go borrow for light in St. Clair. And in the scope of that project, $56,000, and it would be like 1%, right?
But by the time you're done, that 56,000 is now 80 or 90. That's what you end up paying, right?
True.
So we pay it now and get it over with. We get out of reserves.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got reserves. Like,
Yeah, where's the list of all the reserves?
I go reserves.
Which reserve do you want to use?
Did we get the document with all the reserves? That was by
Yes.
email, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's-
Or no, it's on
Yeah.
the last page of the
The last page.
package.
Contingency
Oh.
reserves.
Mine-
So, okay,
So, you know, we have a sufficient dollars there,
Okay.
1.26.
1.26
Yes.
in that one.
Mhm.
Take that money into there.
Yep.
Where we take it from?
1.26 million
Oh, and what was it? Earmark.
contingency.
Okay, so like we did.
So take the 61, the total 61 out of there.
Well, it could take the whole 61, or we could go to 4.95 versus 3.95.
Let's take the whole 61.
The whole 61, make it cleaner.
We have it there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There,
Yep.
do that, then
Yep.
stick it on. the tax bill.
Yep.
Yep, use it to good use.
Okay, so 3.95 and 61,000 from reserves to cover the changes in capital. Lovely.
So normal procedure then now would be to pass a motion to accept the bylaw as
To the budget.
as discussed today, to adopt the budget. Yes. A motion to adopt the budget, and then you'd like to make it subject to approval by the treasurer that we've recorded everything properly.
Yeah.
But 3.95% tax increase, and
Just a final review or something.
yeah. And I think we're fine, but
Yeah, maybe it's just a kind of a,
And I think
Check this out.
3.95, I think this is a year we're gonna do a lot of stuff that a lot of people are gonna notice. Between St. Clair and Light.
Yeah.
And all these walks between, there's a lot of high profile things that we're gonna achieve, so.
yep,
And I think it's gonna be a surprise to some residents.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because.
when you hear them, yeah,
Yeah.
the
we're
road.
accomplishing so much with a lower tax increase
mhm.
than what we've had last year even. So,
I think the apologies will be flowing quite freely on Loud
Oh, I
and Proud. Yeah.
Oh, are you sure?
Wait,
We're still on.
so Ariana should make the motion then, right, as finance chair?
Do I make a motion?
Whomever, it's,
Sure. I will make that motion,
okay,
subject to, review from the treasurer.
perfect.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Beth?
Yep.
You know,
Yep, yep,
Make it
it's
enough.
unanimous.
yeah,
So the only other piece is the bylaw, the confirmation bylaw and adjournment.
I'll move the confirmation bylaw.
I'll second
All in favor? There's a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
All in favor?
No, I'm not sure I want to adjourn.
Isn't it happy hour at VIP?
Yeah. Hey, well, they just, honestly.